Hi everyone, I'm back with another thing I would really like to talk about just to get it out the way. Hey, hang on. So, as we all know, Groove Coaster Future Performers has came out in July of last year, and when I first saw the trailer of it, the first trailer that came out, the announcement and all, I've had my doubts. So, as time progressed, we could see some differences in my opinions of this game. So, we will be talking about how I really feel about Groove Coaster Future Performers. But before we get into that, we should talk about the game itself. Is the game good? Well, to put it bluntly, yes and no. And I have actually organized some things I would like to discuss that would be the good and the bad of Groove Coaster Future Performers because this game is definitely far from perfect, but it does have some things that stand out. So let's get started with the good. Now, one of the things this is more of a personal preference, so take it as you will, is the song list. And I'm not talking about the anime, VTuber, Toho, Vocaloid stuff. I'm talking about the originals. All the new songs that you unlock through the story mode in this game. I do like I do like the song list. There may be one or two songs that I absolutely hate, but everything else is at least neutral. But but aside from that, I personally do like the song list. I did have my doubts about this, not gonna lie. I had no idea if it was just gonna sound generic or anything like that, but no, I was definitely impressed by how each song sounded. Each song has is definitely each character definitely fits their theme. Like we have I don't remember names, but we have we have okay, you know what? We're just gonna skip that, but you get what I mean. Like when you hear it, you'll see how it fits. So this so I would give all the songs a good some good points on it because there's I mean, what do we do expect new stuff to come out when a rhythm game like this comes out. So, I was not disappointed with the song list. It is pretty much the only thing that it is pretty much the only thing that um gee, I cannot talk. That I would think that people would buy the game for, but I'm sure all the other Japanese songs that are in the game would definitely catch people's attention, of course, because I mean, hey, it's popular for to them, and if they like it, then that's grounds for them to give it a try. I don't have any more comment on the song list. Just know that me personally, I like it. Some may not like the new originals, and that's fine. So the next thing that I feel like that's good, and it has definitely improved over time, as of right now, that is the gameplay. To give a bit more of the backstory of this gameplay, playing it at launch felt so terrible. Like, the first thing that definitely catches me off guard every time I would play the game is the multi-button presses. I my thumbs are pretty big when they're on the Joy-Cons, so that definitely gave me some issues. And because of how the control scheme is much more different than YY Party, you'd think they cool it with you think it would be the same where if you press one button on one side the other doesn't function, but this wasn't the case in the beginning. I was struggling so much to keep up, and well, not to keep up. It's trying not to press two buttons on one side, and yet it kept happening. It was messing up my flow, and it was definitely not a fun time. And don't even get me started on joystick input. That was the worst of them all, because that's what I felt I was hitting the most. It's one thing to hear the sound effect when I'm hitting the the bumpers and trigger buttons. That doesn't affect me in any way, but when I'm hitting the joysticks or any other an extra button on one of those sides, it would it was so bad. I don't know how many it was a main issue. I'll say it was a main issue that people did have, and there was a I I don't know if it was the first update or the second update. They finally they had an option to turn all that off, and I was so glad because it made my experience much better. Now, to put a little part two in gameplay, I I was skeptical at first when Taito themselves were um, giving details of the game on their stream. It was pretty vague, not gonna lie. However, when I saw it playing hands on, I I'd say it looked promising. And when we got it, it was kind of promising. I won't get too much into it, but it just seemed like with all the changes they were making with the game, I did have a bit of skepticism towards the gameplay, but that kind of went away when I forgot which stream it was because there's so many of them. But yeah, it was okay from there. So I saw it and I didn't. I think my worries kind of went away when I saw a couple of gameplay from there. So that's pretty much it for all the good aspects. There is something else that will be discussed that I'll get into after, but right now let's move on to the bad. And like I said before, this is more personal opinion based, and some are kind of out there with where people try to call it out, but as of right now, it doesn't seem like Taito knows. But let's get into it. Let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the story mode. You wouldn't think a game like Groove Coaster would have a story mode. I won't get in much to the lore, but just know that it's very generic. Like every Japanese school-based show, anime, whatever, based off of that. Like, just take that and then call it a day. I I won't say if I'm not gonna mention like my enjoyment of the story. I honestly forgot what it was about, even though I have watched it and listened to it. But as of right now, I have no opinions on it on like the lore itself. But I do feel like adding a story mode was like the worst decision they would make for unlocking songs. it doesn't help that the story is pretty tedious, and when the game first launched, you were pretty much playing the same songs over and over again, and I'm sure many of you know which song was played the most. Yeah. So, um, while it seemed like a good concept to unlocking all the new songs, I still feel like they should have done better with the unlock system because the story mode, if you were to actually read through the whole thing, it takes forever. Even even though it's unfinished, it still takes forever. Like you will have to do skip if you want to like the route I went to was just skip the story and then play the game. And oh my god, that was such a headache because it was like skip then song, then another song, and no matter um how many episodes that had songs, it was pretty much all that together was a waste of time to me at least. I think they should have at least um shorten it to where it was it was just not like too focused on story mode. And I won't even get into how many songs are still locked in story mode because they're all in Aria Arc, and Aria Arc is obviously unfinished. So, but if you take that aside, that 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 story mode was just not good in my opinion. Like they could have done something else. Maybe what they did, like in dare I say, gotcha games, is do those mini episodes where you can just play it and skip, and then I guess like grind songs on your own, and then when you grind enough, you move to the next chapter. But I don't know how tedious that is for some people, so it might be a bad idea. I'm sorry, but that's what I remember from back when I used to play those games, and yeah, even that kind of sucked. So, so let's talk about what I said beforehand, that story mode is unfinished. I was very disappointed when I got to the end and at first launch because you would think Taito would put in more effort in that in story mode, and then we could have had all the songs already. But instead, we're waiting for who knows how long to for a chapter to be released. And so far, only one chapter has been added. And I am not counting that stupid side story or whatever that came with the Vocaloid pack, because that was absolutely fucking unnecessary. Like, it probably was a good they probably thought it was a good concept to unlock stuff, but no. We, for the majority, we probably would have wanted that stuff already when we bought the pack. I don't know what Taito does or tries to do when it comes to that stuff, but they really should they really shouldn't pull that off anymore. But if it happens, then I don't know what they would do when it comes to that. I don't know if they would do it with Toho, because so far it was only for Vocaloid. But like I said, that side story was just not needed at all, in my opinion. So going back to it being unfinished, yeah, like even Kakeru's arc, which is the first story that you go through, and that part is finished, it ended on a cliffhanger. I won't. If for those who want to know the story, that just I won't say any spoilers, but yeah, it ended on a cliffhanger. Even that felt unfinished, and I was just like, no. And then when we get to Arya arc, the first thing that happened was it ended on chapter 3, and then the fourth chapter was added like 3 months later, I think. 2 months, 3 months, I don't know. But yeah, like we still have songs that still need to be unlocked. We have, as of right now, we have 3 characters missing theirs, and then Rainbow Coaster is, as that song was shown in one of the trailers. Um, so yeah, that's my take on story mode. It's definitely sucks, way too time consuming for this game, and yeah. So let's move on to another personal thing that I found pretty bad, and this was always a thing when I saw it on the first announcement. 2D, and I'm talking about 2D videos. I was so disappointed. Like, Taito had gone really lazy with adding that stuff. Because they didn't want to put in the effort like they did with the other Groove Coaster versions to make a model and try their best to animate it. It may not have been perfect, but that's what made Groove Coaster Groove Coaster. I, I, you know, this stuff is commonly seen on, anime, Vocaloid, Toho, VTuber, but yeah, I did not, I do not like how lazy the backgrounds felt whenever those show up. I don't know what exactly they planned on doing with that because they had so much potential to do more with this game. I do apologize if I sound out of it. I am pretty tired. I got off of work. But with the 2D stuff, it just doesn't feel like just I mean even if it was small, like I know I'm getting a bit nitpicky, but it just didn't have that Groove Coaster feeling, and this may be just a nostalgia talking, but I love those 2D, not 2Ds, those models that they would use because it was so unique to Groove Coaster that they were trying to recreate the source material in that form, and that's what I that's why when I saw a couple of those being in the game, that's when I knew this game was gonna be a mess. Now, other people may have different opinions on this, but this is my opinion. I'm always gonna stick to it. I won't. I don't really have an issue with the 2D pictures that they have, but like I said, they could have just like colored it over because that's like the least they could do. But I'm not too iffy on that part, at least. At least for the most part, like even if it was like a 5 second clip, that's fine. But there are some that like way too long for what it is, and yeah, that the 2D stuff kind of ruins the background. So let's move on to the next one, and this one has been really in my mind for who knows how long Groove Coaster came out. But the thing I find bad about this game is that it's more on the company side is that they don't stick to their plans. And to show you what I mean, here is I am gonna show y'all. I'm gonna show y'all this. Right here. So this is the roadmap for which Groove Coaster, what Groove Coaster is going to be having. So on the top, where, if y'all can read Japanese, where it says update, it shows that every 2 months, start beginning in October, which is the 10 right here. I don't know my mouse. I'm pretty sure my mouse doesn't work, but whatever. Which is the 10. It says for each update, they will add 2 chapters and 4 free songs, and yeah, four free update songs. And for the bottom, which I'm sure it really doesn't matter, but I'm going to say anyways, which is DLC, 6 songs each month. So to rephrase that, phrase all that, every 2 months starting from October, we get an update with 2 chapters and 4 free update songs. And for the DLC, which started in September, it's gonna have 6 songs each pack. Now, you may think, what's wrong with this? And this was the first roadmap they showed us in one of their streams. I don't remember which, of course. But here is where things went downhill. This is the other roadmap they made, where they have changed quite a bit. So going back to updates, in October, there was only 1 chapter and 3 songs, free update songs that came with the update. And then for December, it says 4. We'll get into that later, but they for some reason decided to change their pattern. So instead of having 2 chapters, first off, instead of having 2 chapters in October, they reduced it to 1 chapter. And I was like, huh? So we're gonna have to wait for another chapter in the next couple of months. And for the 3 songs, I'm pretty sure they reduced it because of, the 1 chapter, and I'm sure that chapter is gonna have another song. So yeah, they changed their formula, but at least they gave us an update. I can't say the same for December. So in December, we were supposed to have 4 free songs, but what did we get? We got 2 songs. And to just add it in there, so just get out of the way, all the DLCs, they were correct. They were correct at least, so we're not going to worry about the DLC part because all of that came true. Yeah, so in December, we only got 2 songs instead of the 4 they promised. And they didn't even say anything. They just announced saying 2 free songs, but then some people were like, what happened to 4 songs? Wasn't that supposed to be the plan? Now, you may notice down here, the white text saying it is subject to change. However, they never gave us a real reason why they were making those changes. Like, all of that was just promises they can't keep. Like, you shouldn't have to. You should have at least said undecided for um, December at least. At least they gave us a heads up for October, but they never gave us a heads up for December. Again, call me nitpicky, but I hate how they have not stick to their schedules, and that's really putting a delay and things, especially story mode, because I feel like at this point they should have finished story mode by now, but they're not saying anything. And one and Taito never says anything. I I shouldn't get so pressed up on that, but that's the thing. Like they don't make good on their promises, and by the time it's released, by the time it's released, people are getting mad, and I understand why. So, as for the four songs, I'm pretty sure the other two. First of all, the first two songs that came out was the Flanger remix by Beat Mario and Roki, the Vocaloid song. I'm pretty sure the other two songs were supposed to be ID and Q Curtin. I think that's how it's pronounced. Yeah, those are the songs that recently got released. But they decided to wait for this month. And this month we got four songs. Like I said, I don't know what Taito is planning, but yeah, I don't. It's like maybe don't make promises you can't keep, and probably should have kept that roadmap to themselves. That way we can all just be surprised. But like I said, it's just all just me being nitpicky. So I don't know how the roadmap for this year is gonna be like, but I'm hoping by this year they will finish up story mode. That's the one thing I want them to do. And let me get back into story mode for a minute. So when when they first stated that for every 2 months you will have two chapters, that was back in July when they put in that roadmap. We really thought that we would have all the songs by 2025, but instead we only had one song that came from the updated chapters, or I don't know how else to phrase it. That was such a disappointment because what are they doing between that time to not do anything with story mode? Because while I am against story mode, don't really care too much for it, I at least want them to be done. Like, this game was already unfinished from the start, and I still feel like story mode should have never existed. Like, they should have other unlock means. But yeah, like, they shouldn't have released the game if they knew it was going to be unfinished. Like, we have stated it before. And I fail to believe that they were on a time crunch when it was released. Because if that were the case, then they should have just rescheduled. They should have just rescheduled the game coming out. That would have been fine. Much less worry for me. But no, they did not do that. They just left it unfinished. Definitely got some quote unquote bad reviews for launch day. And yeah. So this is what I mean when I say they don't stick to their plans. They make they made one promise, but then they decided to move on to something else. And like I said, I know they said that things are subjected to change, but give us more of a heads up than just shadow dropping stuff. And now let's move on to what I find both good and bad, and it's just one thing I want to point out. So, one thing I'd like to point out with this is the new direction they took with this game. For the good part, I think it's great that they took this direction of Groove Coaster because they're out here trying new things, and uh, while it was, dare I say, bad that they took this direction, I still think it's okay. I still think it was okay for them to take that new approach because they wanted to try new things. However, for the bad, which I may or may not list a lot of it, is that the bad part is that it just doesn't feel like Groove Coaster to me. Like, yeah, you get the same game, the somewhat same gameplay and all, and the backgrounds, but still, like, we don't get a lot of what we had from the other versions. Like, we we can't go in vertical screen anymore. We definitely have some stuff that we miss, like, for instance, some button styles like ad libs and scratch notes, beat notes, whatever. That's what made the game fun. Like, new stuff to do, like different stuff to do. This game took all that away and replaced it with buttons that even sucked in the ones I listed. Like, you got the left and right buttons, specific buttons, and that can be confusing at first because sometimes like you're too in the zone that you can't focus. Like, you're too focused on hitting your left when you're supposed to be hitting your on your right. Although I will admit I do not have that problem because I'm not blind. I can pick things up pretty easy and see what goes on ahead. And then we have the infamous square notes. I do feel that that has a bit of a timing window than bit of a wider timing window than normal notes, but that might just be me gaslighting myself into thinking that those notes are good, but they're not good. Yeah, it sucks that they had to add that and use and we have to use the but bumpers and triggers buttons for it. I wish I could find another way to do it, but I've gotten used to it to where I don't care about it anymore. I did try to remap it to my joysticks, but that ended badly. And what else about this new direction? This well, I get that with Groove Coaster there was always like original characters, like how we have Linka, Seine, Yume Yu, and then some characters from album art jackets from the originals. Like, that was unique, also unique, but at least they kept that the same with future performers somewhat with all the new characters. But since they're all school based, I'm sure no one really cares about them in any way, unlike the other navigators that were in past Groove Coasters. I thought I would have a lot more to say about this, but honestly, I don't. I just think that the new direction they took was okay at most, but it did take away of what made Groove Coaster Groove Coaster. Now, the next thing I'll talk about is what others think about this game before I get to say what I think about this game. Now, bear with me. This is more in the Japanese side of the Groove Coaster community. I have yet to see English players speak their mind on it. So because I'm on the Japanese side of Twitter, I get to see what goes on, and they say a lot of shit. Like they always talk shit about that game. At least a couple of them. Yeah, so for for a lot of Japanese players, they kind of feel the same way. Like they really don't like the new stuff that happens in this group coaster. And I'm not speaking for all. Some Japanese players may like that approach. But yeah, for the most part, I have seen those certain Japanese players complain about anything that they can find. Like I said, with the story mode, with gameplay wise, even the buttons plays. Like that's like the base of it. Like they find that stuff kind of stupid because they will they do think that it doesn't feel like Groove Coaster in that way. Like why would they do this? Why would they do that? And in all honesty, I kind of agree with them, as I stated back then. I know my tone doesn't sound like I'm too happy about this game, but that's just me being tired. But anyways, I I do agree with them for the most part because yeah, I mean they had to take away a lot of the aspects of Groove Coaster to where it's not Groove Coaster. And as much as I and okay, we'll get back to that, but I I do believe that that title does have more potential to make this game better in some way, but it feels like now they're just trying to milk it by releasing DLCs of popular stuff. And I'll be honest, only two of those packs are good for me. Like only two of those packs were good. The other ones were meh at meh best. I thought I had a lot to talk about this. Hang on. Okay, so yeah, even for first launch, a lot of people were not liking the game. But that's take that with a grain of salt. I'm sure it was half and half of good and bad. Like people liked it, people haven't liked it. But I do agree with the negative side of things. What people are pointing out of this game, it's just not fun. Like what they point out, I do see it from their perspective, and I have yet to find any positivity around it. So, sorry, but I think I what I do find kind of hilarious about the whole scenario about how others feel about this game is that to put things in like in less in a subtle way. When I looked at the Groove Coaster Twitter page, I remember them being back at like close to 100K followers, but now they have lost um they have lost a good amount of followers. Like I want to say around like 4,000, no 40,000 because of the new approach they took. And as that might not be like the main that I know people just probably just unfollow stuff probably because they're uninterested. But yeah, it was kind of funny to see how they were they were high up and now they're back down. I have witnessed that in kind of real time. But yeah, um, So I spent way too much time on this part of the topic, so let's move on. So now here comes the question that you've all been waiting for. How do I feel about Groove Coaster feature performers? Well, I do think this game has potential of getting better. But for right now, I'm still a bit at the negative and positives. More to the negative side than the positive side because I I do not like some of the things that they did with this game, such as um, adding 2D stuff to the backgrounds and gameplay, and the promises Taito tries to do, but ends up failing. I definitely do see. I definitely do see this game getting better. However, I just wish that they planned this game a bit more before they decide to release it unfinished. Because first launch, it was such a mess. There were so many errors that was obvious, and you may not have seen it now, but when you look back to it, you'll know what I mean. Now, I don't know if y'all have noticed, but this is not for me just to brag, but even though I say all these negative stuff, I still have all perfect pluses on all the songs in the game as of right now. Because each time something gets announced, I do like to see if it has gotten better in terms of what they're adding, blah blah blah. But it feels like each month, maybe except this month. This month was okay, but each month I was just pretty much disappointed with what I was seeing because for some reason, Title really just doesn't care as this game a lot, and the only reason I can tell is because of how much they're how much stuff is lacking in the game. I won't get into that, but I hope you know what I mean. But yeah, I the one thing that I was disappointed in was is definitely the story mode because that honestly could have been finished. And like I said before, I fail to believe that they had to release it at that certain date because of this whole time crunch thing. If that were the case, like, yeah, release it another time because at least then the final product would have been finished. That way, story mode would probably have been completed as a whole. And then who knows from there? Like maybe they would have taken a further approach after that the game was fully complete instead of releasing a mess. Oh, and I can't believe I forgot to mention this, but let me let me get back. I'll be back. So yeah, tell me why, and the one thing that I have no explanation as to how they fucked up was how did they miss this again? This is a nitpicky, but how did they miss an entire person's name to be credited in a song? And I was surprised to see that. I mean, first of all, I didn't care about the song at first, but then when I looked back at the trailer, I was like, wait a minute, this person's name wasn't in the artist credits. I looked at it again, and it actually wasn't. How did Taito mess that up? That's how I knew this game was unfinished, because they did not they did not credit them correctly, and even the jacket didn't have their name in. That must be one of the big that is one of the biggest things that Taito could have fixed before they released the game by how it is. But I got a good laugh at that, not gonna lie, but Still, how did Tidal fuck that up? But that doesn't contribute to why I think this game, why I'm more on the negative side with Tidal. I was just going off on a rant there, so sorry about that. But yeah, like I don't right now, as of right now, I don't think this game is good. Definitely far from perfect, but it's not bad either. I'm still playing it for some reason. So yeah, I maybe this game will stick with me a bit longer. I'm hoping by next month they'll probably announce another chapter. I just hope they don't start to drag it. Like add more chapters, please. Even though I don't really care about it. I want to unlock those songs and other things that are missing. I'm sure there are more navigators, more avatars that are missing. So yeah. So let's gather up all these thoughts and yeah. So this game does definitely has its good stuff, but it's definitely leaning towards more of the bad stuff. I do I do see this game becoming better. I have I have some hope that this game will get better. Not a lot of it, but I do. Some people may some people do like this game, some people don't. For the for the most part, some people really don't like this game, and yeah, I I do think that this game probably should have just stayed unreleased until it was actually done. Like they could have had it all done by now. They had made the announcement back in January of last year, and they gave us more details throughout those years, and then full releasing it in July, the end of July. But even then, but even by then, it was it was not done at all. So yeah, that's how I feel about the game. Like I'm more towards on the negative side. It's they really could have done better, and I really hope that this game does get better. And yeah, my vocabulary is sucking it down. I'm so tired. And yeah, I as much as I like Groove Coaster, this one, this version, I will admit, was kind of is kind of the downfall of Groove Coaster. So yeah, that's about it. I sorry I've been kind of drifting off a lot. Like I said, I just got off a shift and I'm so tired. I wanted to get this video out the way. I had other games I wanted to talk about before I got into this, but I feel like since I'm already in ranting mode, and especially now with me being having glucose as a part of my life, I want to talk about this. I really wanted to talk about my final thoughts as I have made videos on this before, but I feel like now I should give my real opinions on this game. And if you if you guys do like this game, then that's okay. This is just me going on a tangent for even the smallest things, and some are even like obvious to know like why this game is not great. So yeah, thank you guys for listening, and I'll see y'all next time. I'll definitely talk about some other games I want to talk about because I honestly do enjoy talking about stuff like this. So yeah, I'll see you next time.